UX testing is the bridge between application design and the user. But what about other bridges from scratch to a successful app? Another gap to be filled is between suppliers and users, bridged by international standards that bring trust to the trade. ISO is the International Organization for Standardization, an independent, non-governmental international organization, which bring 165 national standard bodies to share knowledge and develop consensus-based international standards that support innovation and provide solutions to new global challenges. The purpose of standardization is to make lives easier, safer, and better before 2030. But how? ISO has a multi-part standard from the covering ergonomics of human-system interaction. For example, 924111, published in 2018, provides a framework for understanding the concept of usability and applying it to situations where people use interactive systems and other types of systems. 92411110, published in 2020, describes principles for interaction between a user and a system that are formulated in general terms and provides a framework for applying those interaction principles and the general design recommendations for interactive systems. And 92412110 provides requirements and recommendations for human-centered design principles and activities throughout the life cycle of computer-based interactive systems. According to the World Health Organization, there are over 1 billion people with some form of disability, which makes up 15% of the world population. Standards are important, but may not be of help to the game designers to be more inclusive for these disabilities, because they are quite technical, hard to follow, and there is no easy way to adopt them to the majority of the community. Although ISO updated their ergonomic standards to provide accessibility for all, they are still commercial and not available to the public for free. Although designers may not have good command of standards, they at least must be aware of communities that develop open standards about web and mobile. The World Wide Web Consortium's Web Accessibility Initiative has set guidelines and working on many devices, and are working on updated guidelines for VR environments. They, and many of their contemporaries, have published a large body of literature reviews and guidelines in the past 5 years. Similarly, Meta, formerly Facebook, has also published its own set of guidelines for creating an accessible VR environment. It's important to keep in mind that ensuring products, services, and environments are accessible to everyone is fundamental to human rights. If you would like to, you can reach the 30-minute accessibility overview video by Meta by clicking on the screen. You can also skip to the next section if you would like to skip it for now. The issue of ethical design is not specific to a single domain. While UX has the potential to help many users with disabilities or impairments, or make things easy to understand for new users, it also has the potential to impair. These are called dark UX design patterns, and many parts of app development process can suffer from pitfalls, either intentionally or unintentionally. Gray and collaborators, in their 2018 paper, The Dark Patterns Side of UX Design, show that either due to marketing and management interference or due to mistakes and miscommunications during development, developers can introduce dark design patterns into their applications. These patterns can hinder users and cause intentional or unintentional frustration during their usage of the application. They categorize these dark patterns into 5 types. The first type is nagging, where a user is regularly prompted to complete a certain task, even if they have canceled the prompt many times. Here is an example where the user can only accept or postpone the request of the application. The second pattern is obstruction, where an action causes more work than there realistically needs to be. An example of this can be to place certain settings, such as privacy settings, under a plethora of subcategories so that it is harder to find and turn off these settings. The third pattern is sneaking, where the app may attempt to hide or delay the divulging of an important piece of information to the user. For example, this can be done within the privacy policy or the ULA agreement. The fourth pattern is interface interference, where the UI may be manipulated to provide privilege or priority to certain actions. An example of this can be during a checkout process, where a certain choice, which may not in the best interest of the user, may be hidden and pre-selected for them. The fifth and final pattern is forced action, where a user must complete a certain action, which may not be desirable, in order to access certain functionalities. An example of this is the restarting process of the Windows operating system, where if there is an update, the user is forced to update the system in order to shut down the system, even if they may want to stay on the current version. To sum up before closing the unit, NACA's hierarchical usability model may help to bring different components of usability to see the bigger picture. NACI leads to the conception of a high-level development-centered usability model that integrates current usability approaches in the industry and research. As most of these principles are also applicable to XR application development, it is beneficial to be familiar with this usability model no matter what you are planning on developing. The hierarchical usability model accounts for concrete to abstract measurable entities which are described from theoretical construct to practical application. Working technology is the foundation of any application and refers to the quality of the system. Quality assurance for it can be done using industry-standard testing and bug tracking. The second level of abstraction is user-focused evaluation, which assesses app quality by using subjective and objective user experiences that can be placed in the context of app usage. Finally, we have to take into account reception and cultural significance of an app measured abstractly using anthropological and sociological approaches. This correlates with social playability and is something that is usually rather done in research than in industry context. This model in future research can be used to exemplify all phases of development and may provide a frame to compare levels of analyses.